Hello and welcome to Live at the Quays. Now, due to recent events across the US and the death of George Floyd at the hands of a white police officer in Minneapolis, we felt it necessary to bring together a panel of people and use our platform to speak out on the matter and educate people about the subject. It's often an issue that is pushed to the side. For those who are unaware, the police were called to a convenience store in Minneapolis on the 25th of May after a shopkeeper believed that George had paid for some cigarettes with a fake $20 note. After the police arrived, they detained George and took him from his SUV across to a police car across the road. And then later on, they had to pull him out of the police car after he complained about him being claustrophobic. Derek Chauvin, the police officer, then began to apply pressure from his knee onto George's neck. Of course, we've all seen the video and the cries of him that can be heard. You know, he can be heard saying, "I can't breathe," shouting for his mother. Obviously, very distressing for anyone who saw it. And of course, Officer Chauvin had his knee on George's neck for up to 9 minutes. Now, an ambulance was then called, and George was taken to hospital and was pronounced dead at 9:25 at the Hennepin County Medical Center. And an independent post-mortem examination concluded that he died due to asphyxia, which is a lack of blood to the brain from pressure to the back and the neck. And of course, it must be noted that he never resisted once, which I think was one of the main causes of the amount of outrage that occurred because of this event. However, this is just the beginning. This contributes to a massive racial issue across America. Black people have expressed their fear over being pulled over at routine traffic stops and fearing for their lives, whereas white people have never had to fear during any of this. And the American people and many people across the world have had enough. And this tragic death has unearthed massive racial cracks throughout the US. And it's shown the scale of change that needs to be made on this issue. Protests have broken out across America, around Europe, around many countries in the world. And it was reported on June the 2nd that all 50 states had some form of protest or demonstration, which was, well, historically groundbreaking in that sense. However, in some cases, these have turned into riots, and most notably in Washington, D.C., people have used force to drive back protesters, and people have, of course, been hurt and killed. Now, with this in mind, I have my wonderful panel here today of Sol, Anna, and Samir here to discuss the events that have taken place, and of course, try and come to some sort of, conclusion as to how we can move on going forward and how we can achieve justice more notably in future events. So first of all, guys, we'll have a sort of roundtable discussion. So firstly, I'd just like to get your thoughts on the whole situation and how it makes you feel. So we'll start with Sol.
Honestly, I believe in the peaceful protests, hands down. But the violent, when it comes down to like rioting and connecting to the looting, that's when it's literally just, and that's when I feel like the message is being lost because of them particular people. But obviously, yeah, you got people who are protesting peacefully outweigh the people who are just being looting and violent just for no apparent reason. But when it came down to the actual case of seeing what happened, instantly I thought to myself, all right, if he's died from that, then hands down, the officers involved in the case need to be taken off the force and sentenced to jail over murder. But that obviously didn't happen because, well, the thing is, he's had a previous case, hasn't he? He's had, 21 previous cases involving...
Yeah, so before...
he's had 21 cases.
Yeah,
he's had 21 cases involving what was it now?
Excessive force. So
force.
Yeah, he had about 20 previous complaints of excessive force, and the most he ever got was a written warning out of those 21 times, and that was only.
But surely if you've got 21 warnings,
but the thing is that you have to consider something. I bet the reason why this one's blown up is only because of social media. The other 20 cases, I don't think it probably blew up, and it was like a direct camera facing him and the person he's.
They probably haven't been recorded, have they? Like a lot of cases.
Yeah, exactly. So because this one got recorded, it went viral within days, and then next thing you know, They're literally like. Actually, I saw a post and it said that the 4 police officers involved in the death have now been sentenced for murder, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. Originally,
Yeah,
it was
obviously.
I first heard that the police officer who did it was being sentenced. I thought that was right because I know he's a police officer, but the
No,
act of
that
that is
is
murder.
taken. It is taking it too far. Like using to excessive force when not needed.
Kind of abusing his power, isn't it? It's
That's the one. That's the thing.
Well, I think that's the
on the
main
video.
issue that a lot. Sorry, Anna. I think that's the
So
main
I'll say
issue.
on the video you can see everyone like pleading at them to stop it. Oh, it's
Yeah.
upsetting how he's continuing to say he can't breathe. People are pleading at him to stop it. He has no mercy. It's horrible.
Well, it's interesting to note that the girl, the young girl, I think she was 17, who recorded the video, has actually been taken into therapy because of people saying that she could have stepped in, and obviously also the gravity of the situation. I guess I'm not sure what you all think, but would you say that it's fair to blame her for not stepping in? Should she have stepped in?
No.
The thing
Because let's be
is,
honest, if she stepped in, they would have pulled a gun out on her. Let's be honest.
that
Like,
is
knowing
how.
American police, that's how it's going to go.
As a young girl, you'd not. That wouldn't be your first thought to go and step in
Well,
against
how
the
old
police.
was she? 17.
Yeah,
Like,
17.
put your life on the line for
Yeah.
someone you don't know. Like, it's a bit
Well,
mad.
that's the thing, though. It's just everybody's just surrounded by fear these days. Like, say, the media is literally designed just to scare people into doing what they want, kind of thing. That's just how that's just how the world works these days. And that's like, from what she's previously seen, probably on like documentaries or something like that, she's thinking, like, she's just shook up. She's scared. She doesn't know what to do. Like, I guarantee, if you talk to the girl, she would have all intention of helping the person, but she was just too scared.
Of course, but in that moment of time,
Oh yeah, in that
that
moment,
would
you
not
just
be your
you
first
just
thought.
freeze. No, you just freeze. It's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
You just be like, you wouldn't have that mindset.
It's
if that's situation, sorry.
So it's interesting you mentioned the media, Sol, because I think this question ties into what you guys are saying, which is, who do you actually think is to blame? Do you think it's the media? Do you think it's a generational issue? Is it politicians? Is this some form of propaganda? Who is to?
It's kind of revolved around a bit of blame everywhere, in my opinion. Like,
I think
this
they all
generation is. What do you say? What do you say, Anna?
Oh, I think they all have some part to play in it.
It is some part because this generation is literally just revolved around technology. Like, you can walk out the house and you're instantly got some form of technology near you about the media and everything like that. That's just how this generation works, and it's kind of limiting. It's limiting our capacity of actually being human, kind of thing. Because I feel like if you go back to the civil rights movements, they were more aggressive because I don't think they had the idea of like major media like to scare them into place, kind of thing. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously, if you're talking about politicians, one of the key political figures in this whole discussion has, of course, been Donald Trump. Now, the way that he's handled things, do you think that all of this could have been avoided if they'd have just charged the officers sooner, or
I agree.
done a bit more?
They definitely should have charged the officers sooner. Like,
Literally. When it happened, the proper channels would have been simple. You got photographic evidence of him using unnecessary force on somebody who wasn't an initial threat. So what should have happened there was he should have been taken off the force, sentenced to lifetime due to obviously murder. If they went through the proper channels and did all that, despite his record, I feel like he could have been put under excessive force, because I'm not too sure on the whole situation when it comes down to like what you get sent away for, kind of thing. But I feel like he would have actually had less of a trial if he actually, just was arrested at that moment in time.
Samir, you were going to say something. What were you going to say?
Like, I don't think that would have stopped the protest though, because you would have got a sentence and everything, but I feel like the protests kind of needed to happen, was all.
So,
Because
do you think they would have?
let's be honest, racism is still a problem, isn't it? It's not like it's gone.
Yeah.
So, like, for the
It
protests
won't
to
be
happen,
gone.
to be honest, it'll probably never be gone. But it's a step in the right direction, though, isn't it?
So what, you think this whole thing, what happened to George, is kind of like a spark that just started everything up?
Yeah,
Like it
I'm
gave
alright
people
with,
the push to be like,
I
no, this
agree with the protests. Like, I'm 100% with them. I'm
100%.
not with the whole right things.
Oh
That's
no,
just ruining
no.
That's ruining it. But like, for people just to stand up for what they believe in, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And they just need to get the message across to the American government, really.
Yeah, I think this is a turning point in the movement.
Yeah.
I view it as that.
Like the UK's doing it as well now, and they're not going around.
They actually, they recently had a it was a peaceful protest, thank God, in London, and
exactly.
I can't remember his name now. It was what's his name? He was leading the man from Star Wars, the newer version.
It's Boyega. Is it John Boyega?
That's the one. Yeah, he was basically, he actually stood out, and he literally had a megaphone, and he was just giving a pretty powerful speech, like telling what he believes needs to change and everything. And I was like, that's kind of how catches the media's eye, kind of thing, because if you're using somebody like him, who's a part of a major franchise, you're instantly going to know them.
No, to be honest, I've seen plenty of celebrities standing for it. I've seen like Ariana Grande out there as well.
J. Cole.
There's a lot of people. Yeah, exactly.
I think it is good that celebrities are like using their platforms to talk about it, because people look up to them, so they're going to listen.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things, of course, is getting people with the most influence, I guess, to talk about this. But if we talk about the UK, so we mentioned the peaceful protests in the UK. Now, a lot of people have said that, this has nothing to do with the UK. This is an American issue. Do we think that this is as big of an issue here as it is in the US?
I don't think the racism is as bad here as in compared to America, though.
But we're not saying that's not here. It is here. It is a big problem.
Yeah.
But compared to
It's
what we've
just
seen in
not as
America,
prevalent here as it is in America.
Yeah.
Of course, there was people in London shouting "F the police" and stuff like that to the British police. Do we think that the British police deserve that sort of treatment, or do you think
that's the thing? Well, that's the thing you have to consider. Like, we're based from what we've seen what happened to George, we're basing around the entire police force of America that they're going to be like that. But what if there's like a handful that are literally protesting with the people saying, yeah, you're right, we are on your side, we agree with you. We can't literally just judge like one person's actions and blame it on the whole and blame it all of the whole force. Like, guaranteed, even in the police force, I'd say there are probably some people who have actually overused their authority, kind of thing.
Yeah,
even
like the
UK police force.
The UK police aren't entirely innocent, are they? But
yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, it's
I feel like a lot of people have jumped on it in the UK just to throw abuse at the police, because there's a lot of people out there that just don't like the police in general, and they see this as like an excuse.
Well, that's how the looting started. Yeah. They just saw that they were weak, they were vulnerable at the time, and they took advantage of it.
Well,
I know, go on, Tom.
Sorry. Yeah. So, if we talk about influences, of course, Jake Paul was seen looting as well. Now, whilst he's not a traditional celebrity, I think for a lot of young people,
he's a big influencer.
Yeah, like young people, like that. His target audience will be young, vulnerable people. So
no, that's the whole thing about Jake Paul's channel. Like, he keeps saying, "Yeah, I've got a really young target audience." So I'm thinking, why are you doing this if you know you're going to influence young people to do something?
Does he want to bring up a whole generation of people to think that that's the right thing to do?
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
But we can all agree Jake Paul's an absolute idiot, though.
Yeah.
His brother Logan did quite an impassioned speech. I don't know whether anyone saw that on.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you can't obviously like when you. I don't know where I'm going with that. Carry on. I don't know where I'm going with that one.
So, well, what I was going to say was, is that a few people complained that, it was he'd written down a script beforehand.
Yeah.
But would you say that with a topic like this, it's important to sort of structure your thoughts and make sure that you're saying the right
Exactly.
things?
Yeah. I agree on that, because when you come down to something about a serious matter, like say sexism, racism, or anything in particular like that, you do need planning. You need planning to write down like what you actually want to say, and people don't get the wrong impression of it.
Yeah, like if you word one thing wrong, people can take in the entirely wrong way to what you're meant to be saying. Because it's such
like obviously, you need to include your own personal beliefs in there, literally, like. But I would say always do have a script. Always do have something written down when you're having a major political thing like this happening, that you actually know what you want to say and make sure it's said clearly.
Yeah.
I think overall, though, would you say that celebrities are doing enough? Do you think they could do more, or in general, do you think that it's sort of been a 50-50, I think, for a lot of people? For example, was it Kylie or Kendall Jenner where it came under a bit of criticism purely for just starting a tag chain on Instagram, and that was it really for her sort of message. So
No, but to be fair, that does spread awareness at the end of the day, doesn't it?
Vanessa, they actually got.
By doing that, they are using their platforms to spread awareness.
They have like 100 million followers. That's
Something like that.
Like in the most followed people on Instagram. So
yeah. And like, what was it yesterday? Was it Tuesday? Where Insta was just all black squares. That's spreading awareness at the end of the
Instagram
day.
was literally like that. Fair enough, it is spreading awareness, but the problem is with that, it's just sending.
Yeah.
Like if you just look at the photo itself, it's just a black square. You really don't really get much from it. So that
so
way
many
you
people weren't happy. They weren't happy about that, because it's like, oh, you're not doing anything by just posting black square. You need to educate yourself. You need to sign the petitions.
yeah,
I mean, that's what like I hope we've all been doing. Not just posting a square and not allowing yourself to educate yourself.
I think that's more of a prerequisite of protests. The people that protests are the ones that know about these subjects, and feel, I guess, why protests should happen. And I think that's probably why a lot of people are doing it. But if we move on to the next question, this is a very, very heavily debated question. Some would say unjustified. Some would say justified. So it's the big one. Does white privilege exist? Do white people need to use their privilege to build a more equal society?
I hate to say it, but the way the world started out, like with everything that happened back in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, there was a time, it probably is still a somewhat similar case, like where white people thought themselves as a dominant race, where it just clearly wasn't the case. So as it stands right now, I feel like it's not like white privilege need to do anything about it. It's like a case we all need to literally just do something about it. We all need to literally just be spreading awareness, saying that this is wrong. We're better than this. We can literally live in a world where we don't actually have racism or anything like that.
Yeah, like white privilege does exist, even if it wasn't as bad as it was back in the 90s. Like
it's still there. It is still
people are still like viewed differently because of what race they are.
Like stereotypes and everything.
As someone who is mixed race, I've been stereotyped my whole life. People, oh god, I won't repeat any of it now, but I think white privilege is definitely still around in
it is
day and age.
So what do you think the best thing that white people could do is in terms of raising awareness for this sort of topic? Do you think it's a case of education, or do you think it's a case of just pushing that message and accepting the fact that white people do have privileges?
I think that they should accept it, because they should know how privileged they are, and then they need to educate themselves on it.
So to people who would say, well, I'm white and I've had a really rough upbringing and, I've struggled a lot in my life, do you think that same privilege applies to them? as a sort of a
Um,
counter argument, I guess. Yeah, I think what you're all saying makes sense. You know, if white people can acknowledge that and spread the message in a positive way, it can certainly make a change. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you know, we
Yeah.
talk about ethnic minorities. That's because it's a minority in number. So if the majority in number were to speak out, then you can imagine the sort of change that that would make. Now, if we
Yeah.
move on to the next question, how do people? Do you think that George Floyd was sort of the final straw in this ongoing problem? Because let's not forget this has happened for
It's not new.
decades. You know, this is
Oh yeah,
more
yeah.
than George Floyd. This
Definitely.
is, you know, is it Breonna Taylor? This is, you know, other people that have unfortunately died in
Yeah.
the UK, in the US, in France, of course, where people have been rioting in France for the death of Adama Traore. You know, there's plenty of examples of this going around. So, do you think that this was really the final straw to make a change?
I hope so.
Yeah, I feel like because it caused so
Honestly,
much
it
attention
does.
on social media because it blew up so much. Like it's happened
Exactly.
thousands of times
It's
before, and none
literally
of them had the
when it
media
revolves around
coverage.
social.
If
Yeah.
we,
Right.
if Anna, if you just finish what you're saying, and then we'll come to
None
Sol.
of them had the media coverage that George Floyd's death did. So I feel like his death would be the turning point.
Sol?
Oh no, I completely agree with her. Like with it blowing up on social media so fast, so quick, it literally
Yeah,
is going to be
it's
a turning point in
worldwide.
everything.
Everyone knows.
I think that is the power of social media. Of course, I guess it's sort of that thing of we are more and less connected in that sense. I mean, Samir, do you think that, you know, this is really the final catalyst for change, or do you think that this is going to be just one in another few cases that we'll see over the next 5 years?
It's a tough one, you know. Like, I want it to be. I want this one to like make a difference, but I don't know if it will. That's the thing. Because let's be honest, racism isn't going to disappear overnight, is it? Now? It's going to take time.
It's
So,
gonna take so long for it to completely disappear.
Well, let's face it.
George, let's remember that George Floyd isn't the only victim of this. You know, there's Breonna Taylor, there's Adama Traore in France. You know, and there's plenty of examples in the UK. Too many to even remember, to be honest. There's just you could go through lists and lists of UK people, US citizens, French citizens. Of course, with the riots going on in Paris at the moment. So, do you think that this was sort of it was teetering on the edge, and this has sort of sent it over now?
I would say it has, to be fair. Like it just so happened that this one, like you said, there were so many other ones that are basically still happening, even in America at the moment. It was just so happened that this one just blew up on social media, and because social media is such a powerful platform, like Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, everything, it literally blew up, and it instantly got everybody's attention, saying like, "Nah, this isn't right. This can't keep on happening. It needs to stop." So with the power of social media, it's literally just, I want to say it's the last straw personally, because I don't want to see this ever again. But like I said, it is going to take time for this whole thing to stop altogether. It won't stop overnight.
Racism is just not going to disappear like that. It's going to take years.
Mm.
Like if you look up, say like back to 100 years ago, it was so bad then, but it's still around now. So it's not going to sort itself out overnight. It's going to take a while.
Samir, do you have Samir? What would you say to that then? Do you agree that this is this was sort of the final straw? Do you think that this is going to happen again?
Personally, I don't want it to happen again, but I feel like it just will. Like I said, racism isn't going to go away overnight, but it's a start for change, isn't it? Like you need to like act now for the future to be better. So yeah.
I think what a lot of people have said is that these violent protests have made things worse. Of course, there's been plenty of videos of the police being running people over with cars, beating people to the ground. So, do we think that both parties are to blame, or do you think that the police are still not exactly helping themselves with the way that they're behaving?
Personally, I would say I would say that the violence and literally obviously just instantly just disrespecting police officers and threatening them isn't helping the situation at all. Like, if you want to get like, take this for example, with George, they had peaceful protests and then they managed to get the people who were responsible for basically his murder thrown into jail. That was through the peaceful protests. Obviously, it was at the time where there was riots and everything like that. But personally, I think it was because of the effect of the peaceful protests rather than the violent ones. Because when it comes down to violence, it just gives people the idea that, oh, you're not. It's instantly just thinking, oh, we don't care about being the big person. We'll just retaliate with something else. Like, take Donald Trump, for example. He's in charge of a country, and he sent out a tweet saying something on the lines of, when the looting starts, shooting starts. I'm like, you're in charge of a country, man. Do not put something like that.
It's just
like,
it's so unprofessional.
The thing is, if I was a president, I would not dare touch social media. Like, end of. Because whatever I say, I could say one word and hundreds of other people can literally just decode that and literally just talk about.
Yeah, like, if you're in charge of the whole country, you say something like that.
Like, even if you are in part of social media, have somebody control it for you, like a group of people controlling it, so it doesn't make you out to be like a complete idiot.
Yeah, like Boris has his advisors, I think they're called. Surely
advisors, that's the word. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think it's could have done with some now. Samir, do you think that Donald Trump being on social media has actually made things worse? Do you think he's sort of digging himself into a deeper hole at this point?
I don't think it's made much of a difference. Because let's be honest, like, I don't know, it's a weird one. Because the things he's tweeted are just like, they will just piss people off a bit.
No, I don't follow him on Twitter, but I've seen it, and it's like, sometimes I think, how are you running a country?
And the thing is, there's videos of him generally just being straight out racist, and I don't understand how he's president at the moment. Like, I don't understand how.
Remember that video you sent me, Samir?
I don't understand.
Sorry,
that video you sent me, Samir, of where he was just literally going straight out and just saying, you've got nothing to live for. And he's saying this to people.
Yeah, legit. He's saying this to African Americans. He's just there like, oh, like 50% of you are unemployed. Like, why are you here? Like, how has that guy got in power from? Like, I don't understand how he's in charge. How's America allowed him to be in charge from the get-go? Like, I don't understand that. Like,
because the majority of them just believe he's right, but he isn't right.
He must be very, I don't know what the word is, manipulative, charismatic. So he's very charismatic.
Really not.
Well,
I think it does piss me off.
A lot of controversy surrounded his election. A lot of American people voted for him because they thought he was different to politicians. Of course, his lack of experience as a politician, I don't think, has served him particularly well.
Yeah, that's kind of knocking him down a few, to be fair. That.
Well, the few.
But could you say that the violent protests aren't his fault? There were people that travelled into Minneapolis to riot and loot. So do you think that it's, is it sorry to just finish the question. Do you think it's right to blame him, or do you think that the citizens themselves also have to take a degree of responsibility for the way they act?
I do agree with that. I would say citizens do have to, because it's human nature that it would result to violence. Like, look back in the 1940s civil rights movements, you had people, Martin Luther King, wanting to have peaceful protests to get his point across without violence. Then you had Malcolm X, who was in charge of the Black Panthers, and both had the same beliefs, different approach. Yeah. One was violent, the other one was peaceful. So I felt like it was, even if you didn't have people like Donald Trump on social media, like provoking people, violence was going to be an outbreak in the end.
Yeah, of course. The same thing happened during Barack Obama's reign as president. There was plenty of protests and riots under him as well. So it does seem to be, if you look at it from that standpoint, a more systematic or a more general issue rather than whoever's the president. And I think people have been arguing, well, you can't blame Donald Trump because this happened before him. There's some people saying that he's perpetuated these ideas.
Yeah, he is. He is somewhat, with what he says, he does provoke people. I'll have to say that much. It
Definitely.
provokes people in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't say it's all his fault, but he definitely has a part in it.
He's not helping it. He's not helping the
No,
situation. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, like
But
he
let's be
could
honest,
definitely help it if he was like
'cause honestly-
being like respectful and stuff. But
Yeah.
the stuff he
'Cause he has a huge impact, doesn't he? Like the amount of like, even on social media, he has a huge presence. So he does impact people and how they think, and people can get brainwashed quite easily with like online influencers or just people.
yeah, because he's got such a big following, he can brainwash a lot of people. He's got the potential to.
So if we actually go to the, if we see, I'm sure you've all seen a lot of pictures of people protesting videos, and a lot of people, especially in Hyde Park, I think it was, were of our generation, you know, a lot of younger people. So do you think that this is a generational issue? Is this something that has been, is passed on through older generations because, of course, they lived through those times of segregation and a lot of discrimination? So do you think that our generation is probably the first of many to sort of really start that wave?
I would agree on that one. I feel like it is too. Like, I do like the idea that it's because the past generations that have actually taught us to know that this is wrong. That itself is a milestone, in my opinion. Because the fact that the majority of our generation knows that it's not right, we're all equal, that is a stepping point, in my opinion.
Plus, I feel like our generation has a bigger impact on the older one because we have a larger presence on like social
We have a
media.
large way of just
like
communicating.
we're the first. Well, we're like one of the first generations to like actively use social media. Like, say back in our parents' day, they wouldn't have had that to use their voices and speak out about how they feel, and we do. So we can have a bigger impact.
Yeah, I think a lot of this stems back to social media. You know, social media is long been debated about whether it's a positive or a negative thing, and I'm sure that you could conjure up arguments for either point of view in terms of different topics. But I think from what you guys have said, is that social media is certainly a positive for things like this.
The thing is about it, it falls under to the actual person itself on social media. Like, it's their choice in whatever they post affects it in that way. So it could be good or bad. So it's not, like, in my opinion, the idea of social media, it's neither good or bad. It's just the way people use it that is good or bad. If you get what I mean.
In this case, it's definitely been used for the better.
Oh, yeah, it's been used for the better, but then you also have people like Donald Trump who's using it just like in a bad way. But the better way is literally where people are sending messages, literally showing their support, spreading awareness, saying that this is wrong, all that.
Yeah, the people I've seen doing that are mostly from our generation. So again, that like
exactly
proves the argument that our generation are kind of the first generation to have this view.
So just to finish off the last question then, what do you think we can do moving forward? Because of course this isn't a trend that you can just hashtag and post about. This is a much wider issue. So what do you think as a whole we can do moving forward? We'll start with Sol and then we'll go to Anna and Samir just to finish off. So Sol, what do you think we can do moving forward?
To move forward, it has to be a case of, I would say, just, it's hard to explain really, because like you said, it's not going to go away overnight, but to move forward, you have to just accept people for who they are, kind of thing. Like, you need to understand people are different. It's obviously, we all look, it's the same idea of like, we're different on the outside, it's the same in the inside. So we all need to understand that is the case. Like, we've got people who are different we are different colours or different races, we're all the same underneath. So we all need to understand. The moment we all understand that, like everyone, we will literally be able to move on from this.
Anna, what would you say to that?
I agree with Sol. I think people just need to look like beneath someone's skin colour and understand that stereotypes aren't. Most of the time they don't exist. Like, we are all the same underneath. People just need to see that. It's the 21st century, and our generation have been. We've been raised, or some of us have been raised to think that one race is superior to the other when it's not. Like, we're all equal.
Yeah. All I'm gonna say is, like, what we need to do is notice the racism first, because I feel a lot of people don't actually notice it. Like, a lot of people are
They need to be more
not educated. They're not just not educated.
Yeah, they
So
need to educate themselves on it.
Yeah. First step is just to like notice the racism, then to eliminate it. But like eliminating it is gonna take a long time. I think the first step is just to educate everyone, so like everyone knows what's what, and like eliminate.
They do kind of do that for the younger generation. They do that for like high school kids these days, because when I was in high school, it came down to a project where it was on the civil rights movement, so we had to learn about that. That's their way of influencing the younger generation to know, all right, these are the mistakes they've done. We won't recreate the same mistakes. We'll do better. We'll be the.
Well, the thing is, no one's born racist, are they? Like, it's taught.
I know, it's just influence. Yeah, exactly.
Learned behaviour.
Exactly.
Just a quick question for you all, sorry, just so we can sort of wrap it up a bit. Do you think that the police themselves need to look at them? Do you think the police need to look within themselves and have a sort of restructuring, or try and find ways of being stricter with their officers? If we start with Samir this time and go to Anna and Sol, so we'll go the other way around.
Yeah, 100%. Because like, there's so many police officers out there that do like bad stuff, but then just because they're a police officer, they don't get any trouble or anything. Like, end of the day, it needs to be more strict. And like, say people that have had like previous problems with, like, let's say, using too much force, they should be let go of, and then it would prevent future problems or situations like this from happening again. Like, simple as that, really.
Anna, if we go to you.
Yeah, I agree with Samir. Like, the police have potential to do so much, but because they have a lot of power, and what they've done with George Floyd is abuse that power. So now it's causing people to think negatively of the police, and really they can do so much positively. So I do think they need to kind of restructure and rethink. Yeah.
So, just to end us off on an amazing quote, if you can.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, I'm going to talk to my Bruce Lee here. All right. I would say it needs to be a case of thorough background checks through their history and see like what they are like, going through examinations showing how they see quality. Like, when it comes down to being a police officer, you're dedicating yourself to protect people regardless of what colour they are, what gender they are, or anything like that. They need to know that they protect the people of their country. They need, if I was a police officer and it got to a point and and there was a situation where it involved a black man, naturally a normal good police officer who swore to protect people will take that into their hands and be like, all right, talk it through, literally show them evidence of it first, and then they'll explain their opinion, kind of thing. So I would go on the idea of thorough background checks, so that way you don't have somebody like the officers that killed George being someone like that on the force, because I wouldn't want anybody like that on my police force. I would want somebody who knows the difference between right and wrong, and be like, oh, if he's doing this, even if he does the slightest thing, maximum force. No, that's not the right thing. You have to obviously restraining them, and then literally showing that you're not intentionally trying to hurt them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just one little sort of pointer, I guess, then maybe. I heard someone mention this on social media, and I thought it was it was a controversial but an interesting point of view, I guess you could say that, was that they were concerned that maybe this could make some criminals or criminals of ethnic minorities more arrogant because they know that if the police try to arrest them, they can record that, put it online, and brand it as racism. So when I read that, I thought, well, you can see both sides. What would you guys say to that?
I would say the only way something like that would actually work is if they saw the police officer using unnecessary force, literally making it so that they seem to be the bad person kind of thing.
Yeah.
The way revolving around that, like I said, you have to have people in the police officer force that can actually do the job correctly and protect people without harming them kind of thing. You need somebody who can talk through it and show that they actually are here to help you. They don't want to harm you in any way. You do have to consider one thing, though. Like, George got arrested for something like this. So do you think there's actually any people in prison or in jail right now that have been wrongfully accused just because of their race?
I'm definitely sure that there's people of ethnic minorities who are in prison for crimes they didn't commit just because they are of an ethnic minority. That's really upsetting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's certainly a topic that can stem back to many things. And as we've discussed today, and as people watching at home will hopefully realise, is that, you know, this is a wider topic that needs as much awareness as possible to help bring change and help bring justice, which of course is what we all want. But thank you to my panel. You've done an excellent job. I'm very proud of you all. Well done. It was a good debate. Good conversation. So to the viewers at home, thank you for watching this special episode of Live at the Quays. Obviously, we urge you to keep spreading the message. This doesn't end here, okay? Once next week's done, we go again next week and we keep this message going. That's the whole point of this. We don't stop after just one Blackout Tuesday. We keep going every week, every month, every day to make a change. And that's the only way change will happen. We obviously all have lessons to learn, but if we remain strong and being loud, we can evolve as people and change as people for the better. So thank you to our guests and thank you for watching. We hope that you've actually taken something from this, and we hope that you're proud to be a part of something important and a part of something that can educate and inform people in order to create a more equal society. So thank you for watching, and we hope you stay safe.